Hi, my name is Sandra Rodriguez. I am delighted to introduce myself to you today. I have been working in the field of education for 9 years. I hold a degree in bachelor's degree in social science from Politécnico Gran Colombiano University. My experience includes teaching of all fundamental areas at in all primary school grades. I teach subjects in social science, history, geography, and democracy or civic competencies. Some of my notable achievements include completing two specialized diploma programs and a master's degree. I hold a diploma in school violence prevention from the Politécnico Gran Colombiano University. I had a diploma in inclusive education and educational strategies based on universal design for learning and response to interventions from the international corporation leaders of Latin America. Additionally, I learned a master's degree in inclusive and intercultural education from University of De La Rioja, UNIR. I emphasizes inclusive support for all students, regardless of their individual differences, which have equipped me with advancing knowledge and practical skills in the school, violence prevention and conflict resolutions, focusing in diverse learning needs and cultural competence, which has deepened my expertise in social science education. Though I do not have direct experience in creating podcasts, I am familiar with the process and understand how to manage it effectively. I am confident that I would not encounter difficulties in producing high quality education podcasts. I have experience working remotely and am proficient in using various technological tools such as Zoom, Google's Workspace, Microsoft Teams, and education platforms like Moodle or Blackboard. I have a stable internet connection and the necessary equipment to create high quality education content. I am particularly interested in the YouTuber synchronic position because it combines my passion for teaching with my skills in digital content creation. I am excited about the opportunity to engage with my students in an interactive and innovative way. Do you know what Industrial Revolution was? Stay with me and I will show you. Invention, innovation, progress. These words are often linked with a period of time with advancements in technology, travel, and communication, transforming everyday life. We call this time the Industrial Revolution. Before the Industrial Revolution, clothing, machine, and other goods were made behind in the homes small businesses of cities. Creating goods took time and effort and the progress was often slow. Over time, people began to create new machinery that would make the work more efficient. After all, creating more goods in a shorter amount of time meant more money. Our story begins in Britain from the 1760s to the 1840s, during the time called the First Industrial Revolution. British businessmen and inventors developed new ways of manufacturing. That means to make something using large machinery. Inventions such as the water frame, spinning jenny, and power launch transformed the textile or cloth industry. Workers could use this machine to spin fiber into yarn at the lightning pace compared to previous machine. On top of that, new methods of producing better quality iron expanded the steel industry. Meanwhile, people like James Watt were working on something else just exciting: the steam engine. Soon, everything from factories to new types of transportation were using steam power to work faster and travel farther than ever before. As you can imagine, Britain wanted to keep the new machinery top secret. If they keep the technology for themselves, they would have an edge on manufacturing over everyone else. Sadly, the secret seeped out to other parts of Europe and the rest of the world. In 1793, a man named Samuel Slater built a textile mill in Rhode Island, coming from Old England. Slater brought his newfound knowledge of textile manufacturing across the pond and sparked a second wave of innovation, this time in the United States. A time period that would later be known as the Second Industrial Revolution. Before long, textile factories were popping up in cities around the US, particularly in the north. These factories were centers of industry, and some serious work violations compared to modern times. That housed all the steps to produce cloth in one place. Before long, textile factories were popping up in cities around the US, particularly in the north. These factories were centers of industry, and some serious work violations compared to modern times. That housed all the steps to produce cloth in one place. From the late 1700s into 1800s, new types of machinery continued to transform everyday life. Agricultural advancement included cotton gin, which pulled seeds from cotton, as well as the McCormick reaper, to the steam-tipped plow, and the thresher, all of which were used in fields to plow, cut grain, and separate from the stalks. In the transportation industry, steel and steam engines were key. Railroads lines began crisscrossing the country, accompanied by roads and canals. Travel that took months now only took a few days, thanks to steamboats and steam-powered locomotives. Advancement in communication left heads spinning as well. Here, I want to see you. Pretty cool, right? Well, what wasn't cool were the working conditions in factories, the rise of slave labor and child labor, among other things. During the time period of the Industrial Revolution in the US, the number of the slave laborers increased from about 500,000 persons in 1790 to over 2 million by the mid-1800s. Many of them were forced to work in fields and in homes and suffered greatly under very hard conditions. Additionally, as towns explored into busy cities, living and working conditions in these urban areas proved dangerous. Cities were dirty, polluted, overcrowded, and lacked basic housing, sanitation, and even safe drinking water. In factories, the conditions weren't any better. Many of the workers in factories were women and children. They worked up to 12 hours a day, often 6 days a week. They had few rights and could be fired for even the smallest wrongdoing. Vacation time, sick leave, weekends, forget about it. Factories were a dangerous place to work. It wasn't uncommon to lose fingers and suffer other injuries while working in large machinery. Sicknesses spread quickly in factories, which lacked access to clean air and basic facilities. Children worked for the lowest wage and were often given the dangerous work of running in between large machinery to fix problems. They worked the same number of hours and days as adults, in conditions that left them injured, sick, or worse. In response to these working conditions, labor unions formed to fight for the rights of factory workers, and child labor laws were put into effect. The abolitionist movement to end slavery picked up speed, and the women's rights movement began to gather more support. Change was in the air. After all, in more areas than just the invention of new technologies. People were ready to stand up and fight for their rights. A new revolution of sorts are to its own the Industrial Revolution in Britain, America, and other parts of the world. Changed society in many ways and forever.